So I wish to welcome Petros here today for an interview about my presently running pivot program for men. And so welcome, Petros. Thank you so much for showing up here on a Sunday morning.
Hello, it's my pleasure.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit, maybe, or the audience and me, a bit more about yourself, really.
Well, my name is Petros. I was born in Greece. My parents, my mum is English and my dad is Greek. I've lived in England and in Greece. I'm a chef. I love what I do. That's more or less everything you need to know about me.
Absolutely, that is plenty. I mean, I personally obviously know a lot more about your history and that, but
Of
I
course.
think so. You basically have a passion in life, and that is your food,
Yeah,
and that is, as we find out later, probably not your only passion, but that is certainly a very strong passion. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
So tell me, Petrus, what originally prompted you to choose Pivot, a program basically that like Pivot?
Well, basically, over the years, I have suffered from severe anxiety. I was on different tablets. I've been to all kind of different doctors, psychologists, uh, but I never seemed to find the answer. It could have been, I could have felt better at the moment, but I never seemed to find the answer. And when I read up on pivots, I've always wanted to fix my posture. It's always been a part of my plans, and it just seemed like the most down to earth solution.
Down to earth solution. So
Yes,
I guess in Pivot, as you remember, we started through the body mapping process. And
yes,
in that body mapping process, I guess, which on some level at first is quite an unusual procedure, really, to be drawn, to be guided through the
yeah.
body. Is there anything that stood out for you, what you learned?
Well, I could see everything that I already knew. It was literally down on drawing, and I could see things that only I could see. No one else would tell me about, and I could see it in my posture. And it really wanted. It gave me the drive to begin to fix my posture.
Well, so the actual visual really made a big difference to you?
Yes, of course, of course. I could see I'm not in alignment. I've tried everything else, all kind of doctors, and I'm sure it's a part of it.
Yeah, yeah. I've got the visual here, but I won't sort of share it here in the
Please
interview.
don't.
But no, but I won't. But tell me, what was it in your posture? What really, I remember that moment, what really shocked you? What was it?
It was my back. This part of me.
Yeah.
I was literally bending forward. I had a hunchback. I looked like an 85-year-old man in a 30-year-old body.
Like an old man.
Yes,
Wow. Yeah. So that was quite a pivot point in that sense.
yes.
Yeah.
It had
So
to change.
the I guess I gave you a posture routine then, a very simple to follow one. How is that affecting you now? Is that something you're still using?
I still use, just not every single day like I did in the beginning. In the beginning, I did it every day so I could feel every muscle and everything in my body. Now, I don't think I need to do it more than twice a week with my posture against the wall. I remember myself, even when I'm standing without doing what you gave me, even when I'm talking to friends or doing a sport, I always remember to keep my posture.
That's wonderful. And you mentioned to me that also the outer world around you, I guess the family you're living with and the neighbors, that they actually noticed some changes.
Yes, my mum tells me all the time that my shoulders look bigger, that I'm standing straighter. I can feel it myself.
So out of this whole pivot process, which was 15 weeks, yeah, what would you say were like looking back now, what was a highlight? Like something where you really thought, wow, yeah, like, unbelievable or I didn't
Well,
expect.
the truth is, Frida and everyone else who is listening, you told me from the very first day that I shouldn't be looking for a miracle, that you're not a miracle worker. So there's not basically one thing, it's everything. It's getting it into it. The answer is in us, all of us, to find our way to go through life, the people who are struggling to go through life because of inner problems. This was the whole situation, it just gets it inside you, and you as Frida helped me find things inside me which drove me forward. So the posture, the yoga, the inner child work, which I didn't want to do in the beginning, I was finding very hard.
That was to be my second question.
Yeah,
What were the challenges? Yeah, the inner child work was
the
a
inner
challenge.
child work was the
Yeah,
most challenging of all, because
yeah.
still it's an ongoing process that never stops. It has to follow us, all of us, for the rest of our lives. We need to
Mm.
give a bit more quality to our lives in this way.
Yeah, so I guess I used, which you very much embraced, some creative processes
Yeah,
for you to discover those things you have inside you,
of
isn't it?
course, of
Yeah.
course.
And did that come to a surprise, like as a surprise to you at first?
At first, it came as a surprise when I first started drawing. You know, I wasn't too sure. I'm not used to things like this. But as soon as things came down and it came to actual real life, so in my life, I was so basically what you did was get me to draw different parts of my personality, so I could actually see them, to visualize them. When it actually comes to real life and I visualize one of that part of my personality, it helps a lot. It doesn't take long to change your day. If you're having a bad day, if you know why you're having a bad day and what part of you is to do, it's no one else's fault. Everything has to do with us. That's the main thing I've
Mhm.
learned.
Yeah. So that's a big one, isn't it? So that means it's not anymore the others or the world or the political situation, but
Of course.
it brought it back to you. So you are basically now in charge. Is that right?
That is right. It's an ongoing process. Like I said, I always have to keep alert, but I will, because I don't want to go back to what I was.
Mm. And were there other sort of, let's say, practical day-to-day things that you benefited from, for example, in your rhythm or in the daily rhythms? New decisions you made about maybe time management and things like
Yes,
that?
of course.
Yeah.
Well, my program was all over the place. When I first turned up, you remember, I wasn't here at all.
Mm.
Yeah, there's things, even my breakfast, my whole day, the way I go around with my day has got to do with pivots.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just can say, maybe just to explain that a bit. So I guess in the Greek culture, most people don't really have a breakfast. They sort of
No,
run on empty, on black coffee,
and
perhaps
cigarettes.
sugar and cigarettes for most of the day, until they eat quite late, about 3 o'clock or so. So that naturally, you can imagine what that does to the metabolism,
Yeah, of
to the
course.
liver, and to things like that. And so when Petros started to address that, to actually give himself earlier nutrition, to kickstart his system in a different way than just with coffee and cigarettes, he immediately noticed big changes, isn't it?
Big changes.
Yeah,
I earn another third of the day. The morning, I might have been up, but I wasn't awake.
yeah.
Now I've earned another few hours in my day, knowing what's going on.
So there's more energy.
Yeah,
You
more energy.
You mentioned to me one thing that really struck me towards the end, about the fact that you had realized finally for the first time, since you're a teenager, that you're not mentally ill. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I've I've always believed that I am mentally ill, and I even in conversations. During this process, I think I've just got a clearer picture on things, and I really don't believe that anybody is mentally ill until they you know, they have doctor, they're literally, I don't know what happens in that situation, but people who are feeling like me on an everyday basis are feeling stress, depression. Once I started doing the pivot, I, I could see that I could change my day. So if I could just recognize why in the morning I'm not feeling good, I'm aggressive, whatever I am, if I recognize why I am and which part of my personality is, you realize that you're not mentally ill. Do you
That's
understand?
exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. You realize it's just a fragment of you that is acting out, and it's often
Of
not
course.
even you yourself, because I guess in the process you learned about outer conditioning, things that come through education, things that come from the culture, from the outside, and you begin to distinguish who is actually acting, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so, in learning to identify that, you basically had a way of measurement of whether you are mentally ill or not.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was very deeply touched when you said that, because I think there are so many people, and especially men, that secretly believe that they're not quite normal, or if not to say, really sort of out of it. The
Yeah.
reality is that sometimes we are out of balance. And that is certainly something I know that out of my personal experience. This is why I do the work I do. Yeah. We're out of
Yeah.
balance. We have like our mind talking and chattering away in the weirdest ways, and we don't know how to stop it. And
Yeah.
this is really one aspect. Did you get any tools, or did you find anything now that can calm your mind after doing pivot?
Absolutely. The tools are the main thing. Yoga, even yoga. I've never been a spiritual person. You know, from the first moment that I met you. Uh, but I am so surprised after yoga how relaxed I feel before and after, even in that half an hour or an hour that I'm doing yoga. It
Yeah.
surprises me because I've done sports my whole life. Yoga is a different process. And not only the yoga, other tools were the drawings, the messages, everything is a tool that you can work with. That is your job. You gave us the tools and we have to use them.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't use them, you can feel yourself going off again. So you have to be there so you're happy.
So it is like a method, basically, what you where you think you could adopt that simply also for the future.
Of course, I think that I have to. It's a part of me
Yeah,
now.
it's a matter of keeping you aligned. Totally. Then I just have another. Have you got any sort of plans from Pivot now in regards to what what the next chapter brings, basically?
Well, the exact next chapter is to, without your supervision at the moment, I want to see if I'm going to carry it on in my day, because if I don't carry on in my day, I will go back to what I was. And I don't want to where I was. Sorry, not what I was, to
Yeah.
where I was. My plans are to, I'm going to put a few, uh, what do you call it? I
Like
want to,
a
yeah,
division.
yeah,
Like,
vision. I want to, I'm going to put a few visions and I'm going to try to get there.
yeah, that's right. So there's been some goal setting in regards to,
Goals. That's what I was looking for.
some travel, to some business changes, because you're running your own business, which is quite
Yes,
a
yes.
big business. Yeah.
In Greece, because of the tourist season, we work for 6 months non-stop without a day off, and then for 6 months we don't do nothing. So that really, it's not a good program for anybody's life.
Yes, sort of out of balance, isn't
It's
it?
out of balance.
Yeah.
This year, I've decided, even though I'm the business owner and I'm going to have 6 people working for me, I've decided I have to take a day off a week. And I know this doesn't seem like nothing to whoever's listening in Australia, but for a Greek to take a day off in the summer is unheard of.
Well, also
Believe me.
many Australians work weekends and
Oh, do
Sundays.
they? I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know.
So I think it is very good that you are mentioning that I guess Petros learned that free time is an essential,
It's
and
essential.
that free time doesn't just mean watching television. What can free time mean, Petros, for
The,
you nowadays?
the sky's the limit, really. It could be
Yeah,
anything. Even in one day, I could even leave the island and go to another island.
yeah.
Anything.
So, but nature plays a big role there, isn't it?
Of
As
course.
far as recharging the batteries?
Of course. You can just leave on a day off. I can leave in my car, drive through the mountains, find the beach where there's nobody there, relax. That's, yes, absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. So there are really some changes already sort of staked out, and also the fitness program, isn't it? The developing a fitness a space at home so that there is a regular, beside the yoga, a regular space to actually do a workout. Yeah.
Yes, it has to go in my everyday life now.
Mm.
Even when I'm working, it
Absolutely.
does good. It does you good. Fifth, it's going to help with my posture to come more naturally.
Absolutely. It will support you on a muscular level and on a deep core strength level.
Yeah.
Well, Petros, I think this was wonderful. I feel very, very thankful that you are actually appearing here in front of the camera in order to share your experiences. And I definitely wish you all the best for this coming chapter, yeah, of
Thank you. Thank you
reaching
very
out
much.
for your stakes. And I look forward to hearing more about it in the future.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say that to anybody who's thinking about doing pivot, it's time to do something for yourself. It's the most important thing. You can't do anything for anybody else if you don't do this for yourself first.
Mm. It really hits the heart, and this applies to men and women. I say that as a
To
woman.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
All
important.
right. Well, I just gonna say goodbye to you. I just stopped the camera, Petros, now. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
thanks very much for that part. Just a moment.